Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back to Scotland to revisit my homeland, and we're going to try a beer from the oldest craft brewery in Scotland. So this one is another one from Broughton Ales in Biggar in Lanarkshire, and we're having a taste tonight of another Scotch ale. This one is the Exciseman's 80 shilling, and you can see a picture of our national poet Robbie Burns on there. This one comes in at 4.6%, and as you may have guessed, this is a traditional Scottish 80 shilling style beer. That's what a lot of these American wee heavies are based on. So this is a kind of traditional Scottish Scotch ale, if you like. So it should be quite nice. I did enjoy the old jock ale that these guys do, and they actually sent me a big box of their beers to review actually. So a big thank you to the guys at Broughton Ales for sending me their beers. My dad brought this one out to Sweden with him when he came, because I didn't manage to finish them when I was at home. So a big thank you to my dad as well for bringing this beer out for me to review, and there is another one that you'll see very very soon. So yeah, go and check out Broughton Ales if you get the chance. But as always, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Broughton reviews, all the usual social media, and as I always say, if you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel, and as always, to those of you at home, do get in touch and let me know some of the Scottish beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. But there's many of them being reviewed in the channel already, so do go and have a search for the beers that you want to see. So anyway, to tell you about Broughton Ales. So Broughton Brewery was founded in 1979 by David Younger and James Collins in a former abattoir in the small village of Biggar in the Scottish Borders region. And Broughton Ales, like I said, are widely regarded as the first Scottish microbrewery, and they marketed themselves to customers looking for a craft beer experience as an alternative to the likes of Tennent's and McEwan's and all these kind of big lager and export beers. But Collins and Younger released their first beer, the Green Mantle Ale, to great success, and the brewery became well known throughout Scotland. And the beer was actually so popular that locals soon began to refer to the brewery as the Green Mantle Brewery, and this is really considered as a kind of cult classic by the older generation of kind of beer lovers in Scotland. Actually, my dad really enjoys a Green Mantle, and it is quite a nice beer. You've seen me review that one before. But the Green Mantle Ale helped greatly increase the demand for kind of small batch brewed beer in Scotland, and the brewery decided to introduce the Old Jock Ale, which personally is my favourite from the brewery so far. But at that time they also introduced the Merlin's Ale and the Scottish Oatmeal Stout, and each of the beers were actually named after a well-known character from the Scottish Borders. But in 1995 the brewery underwent a change of ownership, and it was taken over by Gillis Litchfield, who introduced the beers with character moniker for the brewery, and he made this as a series of 10 bottled ales, and he really wanted to increase the exports for the brewery, which began in 1996, and the brewery has been growing ever since he took it over. And today the brewery exports to several countries including Italy, France, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Canada, the US and Japan, and they also produce about 10 different bottled beers and several different cask ales and many seasonal beers as well. So there's a lot of good things come out of Broughton Ales, and if you enjoy the sort of old school kind of Scottish style beers, then this is probably a good place to start. There's a lot of the more American style breweries popping up in Scotland now, but if you want to try some of the older and more traditional style beers, I personally like some of the older stuff that they do as well, you want to check out Broughton Ales. But just to list the other beers you can get from these guys, there's the Merlin's Ale, which is a bitter, Black Douglas, which is a strong bitter beer, that one's really nice, the Border Gold, which I've not tried yet I don't think, the Oatmeal Stout, Exciseman's 80 shilling, this one here, there's the Gilly, which is a nice beer as well, Green Mantle, the original one, Proper IPA, 6.2 IPA, the Blonde, and the Organic Lager as well. So they've got some really nice beers, and I've reviewed quite a few of those for you, and the ones that I haven't reviewed yet I will do soon. So to tell you about this one itself, this one is a 4.6% Scottish 80 shilling, as I said. It's got a malt base of black, pale and crystal malts, and it's hopped with Challenger, Fugels and First Gold, which I believe are all English hops. On the side here it says, Robert Burns, the legendary Scottish poet, was equally astute with numbers as he was with words. Even in his role as an exciseman, proved a valuable source of inspiration and was the foundation of his rollicking song, The Deal's Awa with the Exciseman. In the 19th century, it was the exciseman who had the responsibility of applying tax to all beers and ales. The name 80 shilling is derived from the duty rates that were stamped onto the ends of their casks. Exciseman's 80 shilling ale is a classic example of a Scottish 80 shilling with its bittersweet blend of flavours from crystal, black, pale ale and fresh aromatic hops. So yeah, should be quite a nice beer, this one. I didn't know that was where they got the shilling from. I'd never thought that was to do with the tax things. So that's something else that I've learned while doing these videos. But you can tell usually the tithe, of course, the tax that goes on these beers goes up as the strength of them increases. So you get a 90 shilling, a 70 shilling and a 60 shilling. But there you can see Rabbie Burns on there, the nice hop flowers and the Scottish flag, which is the traditional thing you find on the Broughton Ales. And you can see the flowers on the top of the bottle there. Plain bottle cap, of course. But without further ado, let's get this guy open and we'll get on to the tasting then. Once again, thank you to Broughton Ales for sending me this beer. So yeah, as you can see, a nice smoky opening on this one. You can smell some of the nice fruity character off this as you open it up. But that looks like a really nice beer. I wasn't quite expecting it to be as dark as that. I was expecting it to be a little bit more red, but now that it's settled a little bit, you can actually see it does have a bit more colour to it. So if I hold this one up to the light, I'll just tip the light over and let you see this exactly. You can see that it's a nice kind of dark rubyish red. If I hold it up to the light, it's actually a kind of really deep reddish kind of chestnutty amber colour actually. There's a solid 3/4 finger of a frothy white head, but there's still maybe about a quarter of the beer in the bottle, maybe just a little bit less than that. But it looks very, very nice, you know, typical Scotch ale looking beer. There is a degree of transparency to it, but I'm not sure how well you can see that just because of the colour of this beer. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, one or two tiny little bits of sediment, and a few little bubbles just going up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall, it looks like a very nice beer, and from what I smelled, it does have some of these typical Scotch ale things, aromas going on. So with this one, oh, that smells nice actually. That does smell really good. Yeah, it smells very strong actually. From the aroma of this beer, it's kind of hard to believe that it's only 4.6% because it's huge and malty, and normally you only get that with these big, you know, 9-10% Scotch ales that you get in America, and it really does smell like one of those. So there's a nice roasted caramel character in there. You can pick up some of the bready notes underneath that as well, some sort of grainy character, a little bit of more biscuity things going on. And you can pick up a little bit of that black malt as well, just that really kind of slightly dark roasted character. If you sugar it up a little bit more, yeah, you start to get some of the earthy hops coming out. And there's a bit of grassy character in there as well, not quite floral, definitely grassy character. You can smell a little bit of that English hop coming out in this beer. Yeah, definitely a nice toasted caramel, maybe even a little teeny bit of like treacle or something in there, but maybe that's just the black malts kind of coming through the aroma. But it smells really nice actually. So yeah, nice toasted caramel notes. There's a little bit of woody and nutty character in there as well, a bit of biscuity grainy character, some bready notes in there, woody and nutty like I say, some earthy hop, a little bit of grassy character to it as well, your typical English hop notes in there, and some nice red fruity esters. But for me, it does actually smell really boozy. That's what surprised me about this beer. It's only 4.6%, but it smells as if it should be like 8 or 9 or even 10%, something like that. It's got a really kind of dark nose to it, this one, but it smells lovely. And the fruity esters are actually quite round and quite candied and things like that, which is really nice. So without further ado then, I guess we should get stuck into this beer. So this is the Exciseman's 80 shilling with the character Rabbie Burns, our national poet in Scotland. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte. It's nice actually. It's a lot different from what I was thinking it would be. From the aroma, the aroma's a little bit deceptive because just on first taste it comes over a lot more kind of black actually. So as I always say with these beers, sugar them around your palate a little bit and let the whole mouth adjust before you start to dissect the flavour too much. But this is another kind of really good beer from Broughton Ales. I think in the bottles, their beers are always nice, but when I've tried Broughton beers on cask, they're just a bit of a level above that. The maltiness and the sweetness of them, the bready character, for me with Broughton Ales always tends to come out that little bit more. And there is a bit of a trademark with these beers that they've got this kind of cereally malt base, but it's quite smooth, and you've got just a little bit of spicy character to it, and you can detect that in this one as well. It's something I've always noticed about Broughton Ales, and they come across on tap as just a little bit sweeter. But yeah, that's nice, you know. For me, these Broughton beers are actually good kind of, they're almost a bit like winter warmers actually, with that kind of malt base that they have, the nice cereally malt base. But that's good. So, in terms of the flavour with this one, your palate is just blanketed with this bready malt base. It goes right across the middle of the palate. It's kind of big and cereally. There's a good bit of grainy character to it as well. The black malt for me is actually kind of fairly prominent in this one. There's a little bit of a kind of roasted character just sitting there in the middle of the tongue, like that really black malt character. You can pick it out, and that dryness is just sitting there. On top of that, you can pick up some of the kind of caramel sweetness, and there's a little bit more of a biscuity, kind of almost sort of corn syrupy sweetness there, that type of biscuity sweetness in the malt there. You can really pick that up in this one as well. And as you go out towards the back corners of the palate, you can feel the earthy characters of these Challenger and Fugels and Kent Goldings hops coming out actually. It builds a really good bridge between the flavours in the beer. And the thing that I would say about this as well, I was saying that the beer smelled as if it should be quite boozy, and in fairness it actually tastes like it should be as well. So they've managed to get that big kind of warming character to this one to it, that kind of big bold kind of roasted malty character, and they've done it at only 4.6%, so for me that's actually quite impressive as well. I remember Opigård's brewery here in Sweden had a winter warmer beer that was it was a low ABV, kind of like this one, and it had the same effect. So this one reminds me of that a little bit. But yeah, that's a nice beer. Try this one for yourself. It's quite unusual, and it is really quite different from the old Jock's Ale. The old Jock Ale is a lot sweeter than this one, and it's a lot more fruity from what I remember. That's a nice beer, no question. So around the front side of the palate you get a little bit more of the grassy, and there's a little bit of floral character coming out from the English hops as well. But the earthiness just spreads forward really nicely. Just behind the front curve of the tongue there you get the little oily bubble where the fruity characters start to come out of the beer. It's kind of figgy, but it's mainly a kind of candied fruit ester. It's almost like the kind of heart sweets that you get in Haribo, the Haribo Star Mix that I always talk about. When it comes to things like stouts and Scotch ales, you can really pick up that figgy and candied fruit flavour in this one. But overall, for me, the thing that's really nice about this beer is how the black malts come out and how they interact with everything else and make this beer a bit of a winter warmer actually. You know, if they marketed this beer as a winter warmer beer, for me it would certainly hit the mark. But we can debate about styles all day long. The main point to take away from this review is that it's a pretty good beer. I have to admit I like these ones with the slightly darker malt bases. These traditional Scotch ales that are a bit more cereally and darker than the American ones. The American ones tend to be very sweet, but for me, I enjoy going back to the kind of roots of the style as well. So it's another really quite good beer from Broughton Ales. That's the thing to take away from this review. So in terms of the mouthfeel, this one, I'd say this is mid-bodied. The carbonation is quite smooth. It does have a little bit of a prickle to it, but that helps bring out the earthy side of the hops and also the kind of cereal and black malt elements in the middle of the palate too. There's a nice kind of little fruity, juicy character to it. As I say, it's quite candied, and there's a bit of sweetness from the malt too. And overall, it's very well balanced. Like I was saying, it does have just a little bit of a kind of spice character to it in the malt base from that black malt, and for me that means that this beer could actually be an ideal winter warmer. So if you see this guy around in Scotland and it's winter time, for me this is a really good one that you could go for actually. Or if you want something a bit sweeter, I guess go for the old Jock Ale. It's all up to your own tastes. But yeah, another really quite nice beer from Broughton Ales back in Scotland. It's always cool to go back to the oldest brewery at home and have a look at it. So I need to try and get their blonde ale, and you will see a review of the Dark Dunter coming up very, very soon. So I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. To those of you watching at home, do let me know some of the other Scottish beers and breweries you'd like to see me review. I've reviewed many of them for you before, so do check out the channel and see if they're there, but do get in touch if there's ones I've missed. But thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, Slange just now, make sure you go and check out Broughton Ales and do check out all my social media things as well. I'll catch you soon with the next beer review. Go and try the Exciseman's 80 shilling from Broughton Ales. A really nice, almost winter warmer type Scotch ale. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you again soon. Slange.